They say every object has a story. Most never get the chance to tell it.
Bath Academy of Art, I think, is a fascinating sort of snapshot of post-war art education.
We started to realise that there were some really nice connections between the objects that we all look after.
I found it really fascinating that Bath has this big artistic history that I had never heard of.
So we wanted to think differently about how we could put an exhibition together.
After the Second World War, a damaged art school in Bath found a new home, Corsham Court, a stately home in Wiltshire. What happened here over the next 40 years would influence generations of artists. Yet today, many people have never heard of it.
They ended up coming to this amazing Corsham Court, which was privately owned by Lord Methuen at the time, who was also an artist, and he offered up part of the court for the new Academy of Art, and it flourished there from the late 40s to the 80s and really became a sort of melting pot, as it's been called, of ideas and new ways of thinking about art education.
Everyone was sort of living and working in this one place. Outside of hours, you could still use the studios. You could see amazing artists like Terry Frost would just be wandering around. You would visit them, you could talk to them. So you got more than just your lecture time. You got a wider understanding of what being an artist could be, but also what being an art teacher could be.
This wasn't a normal art school. Artists taught students. Students challenged artists. Creative disciplines mixed freely.
Lots of students talk about how they sort of discovered afterwards just how different their experience had been. So when they were there, they thought that's what all art schools were like. But they then discovered afterwards it wasn't. It didn't necessarily teach them, like, say, technique. It was a way of thinking and it was an ethos. So even if they're now moved into a completely different style, a completely different medium, that ethos, how you view things, how you think about things, runs throughout the thread of their work, throughout their careers, that was set in place when they were at Corsham.
For decades, that way of thinking spread across Britain. Then gradually, the Academy faded from public memory. Its story scattered between collections, museums and archives, waiting to be rediscovered.
I knew of Chippenham Museum. They're on the other side of Salisbury Plain from us, and I knew that they had a really good art collection. And then I also learnt about the Bath Spa collections as well, which I wasn't aware of before, and kind of just got talking to the staff at both of those institutions about our different collections, and we started to realise that there were some really nice connections between the objects that we all look after.
I knew of this amazing collection they had, I knew we had this amazing collection here, and it just seemed like a perfect opportunity to really unite those amazing sort of collections and opportunities to celebrate an area that was shared between us.
3 institutions, 3 collections, 3 perspectives, each holding fragments of the same story. What if they could be brought together? Not simply to display objects, but to rebuild an entire creative legacy.
We decided that the best way to go forward was to get the students to pick a core 10 objects, and those would go across all 3 different venues. We were really keen on making sure that the students themselves were the ones that picked those.
It's been really inspiring to learn from them and hear what they think as well. So the students have been collaborators and even consultants at times when we've been pitching our ideas as curators to them to then discuss and unpick and rethink.
And so the project evolved. The story would not only be told by curators alone, a new generation would help shape it.
So my first session was looking at the pieces, discussing themes about what we wanted to do, and we'd settled on one by the end of it, and then it was from then narrowing down the pieces we want, securing the theme and how we can link these pieces to the theme.
My involvement has primarily been, I think, discussing the theme of the work and discussing the select exhibitions in Chippenham, Salisbury and Bath Spa.
Many of them had never curated an exhibition. Many of them had never heard of the Bath Academy of Art.
I found it really fascinating that Bath has this big artistic history that I had never heard of.
I want people to come to the exhibitions to learn about the history of Bath Spa and how it originated from Corsham, the Bath Academy.
The 10 that the students chose for their sort of main things that would form this hub, I think were really interesting because they were not necessarily the items that we were expecting to be picked. They were pulling out visual connection between the objects, like the James Tower drawing and the Veronica Ryan sculpture and the palette. So there is this visual vocabulary that goes between those three works, which we hadn't identified.
Slowly, it began to take shape, but not as a conventional exhibition. This is George, a life-sized lay figure. Silent, motionless, hidden away.
George is a really unusual part of the Bath Spa University collections. It has an interesting and maybe slightly unknown history. So George has become known as George by staff internally to the university, but he is a life-size mannequin or lay figure that has been used by artists, perhaps from the 18th century, to help with life drawing and modelling. We do know that he was owned by the artist Walter Sickert, who lectured for a time at the Bath Academy of Arts. And when he died in Bathampton, he bequeathed the lay figure to the Academy. And it is now part of the university collections, which was born out of the Academy of Art.
My favourite piece is the lay figure, mainly because its history had been used as a life model, and it's kind of the whole progression of its life is really intriguing to me.
George once helped artists learn how to observe, how to draw, and how to see.
The exhibition has been an opportunity to care for George. So George is currently being conserved with professional accredited conservators, so he'll be ready for the exhibition.
Hi, my name is Kaylee and I'm an objects conservator for the Conservation and Museums Advisory Service. You're with me here today in the Wiltshire and Swindon History Centre because we're going to be carrying out conservation treatment on the lay figure that we have here. To start off with, we did a condition assessment on the object and we identified that there were some areas of what looked like previous mould growth on the object. The way that we're going to remove it is by simply using a brush and vacuum, but this is quite a special vacuum. This is a museum vacuum which has adjustable suction, so it means that I can put the suction down really low so that I'm not going to potentially suck off any elements of the object into my vacuum.
Every scratch, every repair, every mark, part of the story.
The final phase of cleaning is going to be using this material, which is called a smoke sponge. And this is great because it has a very textured surface, and it just means it will get into some of those areas and remove some of the surface dirt that I won't necessarily be able to reach with a brush and a vacuum. So I will go over the whole object with my smoke sponge as well.
Preserving history isn't only about protecting objects, it's about protecting the stories they carry. And in George's case, that story was only just beginning.
We thought, how could we sort of inject new life into this amazing object, which has really interesting histories that hasn't been shown or used for such a long time. So it's almost as though the creative computing students are breathing life into it, but also using technology in the digital layer as a new way of sort of drawing from or with this object.
So the students were tasked with creating an exhibition experience about George, and they wanted to bring him to life using a process called photogrammetry, where we make a 3D model of an object using images. So we take pictures from all around the object, stitch those together to make a 3D model.
We have developed a 3D model of George. This was put into a program called Agisoft Metashape, which basically it interpreted all of these hundreds of pictures and created a very rough 3D model.
As we couldn't get every angle of George because of his age, we couldn't rotate him in every direction. We then had to retopologise and fill holes in the model itself, and also dissect him into his parts so he could be rigged to be able to move. Then we needed to do motion capture. So in our studios, the students wore the motion capture suit with all of their spheres on it and acted how they thought George would move.
The most exciting part was probably watching George come to life, because in reality he is not something that can move independently and be so human-like. So giving him a personality, a voice, body language and such was really fun to watch.
All of that was then rendered in the Unreal Engine, so they moved it into a game engine called Unreal, where they could bring all of those components together to make the final video. Digital George made his debut at Bath Digital Festival, where our students presented what they had designed for the exhibition, and that being George's motion capture tour, telling the story of the art school, and they also created an interactive web experience through which you could make your own colouring in sheet using George in different poses with different backgrounds that you could print out and colour in.
So it's nice to come full circle from using it in a very traditional way to now in a really experimental way that involves digital technologies and young people bringing those ideas.
Alongside the creative computing students, this project opened up opportunities for students from across the university to get involved. Different disciplines, different perspectives, different ways of seeing the same collection.
There's been lots of student groups involved in the project. So we've had the core group selecting artworks. They've been from a few different courses and disciplines, but increasingly I was keen to get other student groups involved, and at different times as well, to build up this bigger picture. So we've got a group of graphic design students involved. They've come for bespoke workshops to Corsham Court to view various items in the collection that we have here, and to start thinking about how the project and the works of art might be able to provide them with more opportunities for some of their modules and their assignments.
Each group approached the exhibition differently. Some explored the collections themselves. Others asked how audiences might experience them.
Actually asking people who don't do this to then rethink how you do it is really interesting, and I think has been really useful, because it has been like, oh yes, that's so obvious, but I would not have thought of doing it that way.
We've had English literature and humanities students, students from history, working together to think about creative evaluation for the project. So both behind the scenes in terms of evaluating the student workshops, but also thinking about how can we entice and better collect data from visitors when they view the exhibition and make that appealing.
Others documented the process itself, capturing workshops as they happened.
We had a brilliant workshop at Corsham Court where MA design students and their lecturers came to document a workshop that was for various students across different courses to present some of the ideas and mini projects that they'd been working up. They were doing lots of illustrations throughout the workshop, using pen and ink, watercolours, doing little doodles, to larger, more finished pieces of work. And we hope that we can include some of them within the exhibition itself and as one of the legacies of the exhibition too.
It's been really interesting working particularly with the students and hearing their thoughts and responses, particularly to objects in the collection, because I might know this collection quite well because I work with it day to day. So to be able to show it to a different group of people and get them to kind of respond to it. So seeing the objects that they were particularly drawn to was really interesting, and it's great that we're able to feature some of those in the exhibition.
The result was more than an exhibition. It became a collaboration between collections, curators, and the next generation of creative professionals. It is these emerging creative professionals that may be able to answer a question that exhibition curators have been trying to answer.
Not everybody actually feels comfortable going to an art exhibition. People might think that art isn't for them, or maybe it's something that they might struggle to understand. And I think that's really the job of us as institutions, is to try and break through those barriers and to showcase to people that actually this is an opportunity for them to learn and enjoy something in a different way.
I actually heard someone walk into an exhibition we had here and go, "Oh, it's just art, that's not for us."
What we wanted to do with the exhibition was to encourage more younger people to come to exhibitions and to feel welcome within the space and that it's for them.
Something we said from the very beginning was we wanted it to be quite fluid and experimental, but not do things in the normal way that we would do things.
I'm really interested in enhancing the project digitally and bringing it to an audience that you wouldn't really associate with this sort of subject.
I think what we're trying to do with this exhibition is to make it a little bit different, so to try and take away some of the elements that people might feel less comfortable in coming to an exhibition. So using kind of digital elements, QR codes, and kind of colour and fun and interactive elements that make you look at objects in a different way.
There's different ways for different people to be interested in it. And if you can get people in a younger age, which is what we're targeting now with this particular exhibition, if we can get them in young, interested in it young, hopefully they will then not grow up and think that art is not for them.
Over the past year, this project has brought together collections, museums, students and staff. But perhaps its most important outcome can't be packed into a display case. It lives in the people who took part, the ideas they discovered, the skills they developed, and the connections they made along the way.
I think the best thing I've learned is all about the opportunities that something like this provides.
For some, the project confirmed a future career. For others, it revealed a story they never knew existed.
I found it really fascinating that Bath has this big artistic history that I had never heard of, and I think more people should know about it.
Students from across the university brought different perspectives. Artists, designers, games developers, historians, creative technologists, each seeing the collection differently.
The most exciting part of the process for me was working with other people, as I really believe that I got to grips with how to harness other people's strengths and differences in order to make a successful project.
Different people are always going to think differently from you, and I think that level of collaboration really helps you make something that's really nice and focused.
In many ways, that spirit feels familiar, because the Bath Academy of Art was never simply about producing artwork. It was about bringing people together, sharing ideas, learning from one another and discovering what might happen next. For years, the story of the Bath Academy of Art survived in fragments, in collections, in archives and sketches, photographs, objects and memories waiting to be connected once again. Today, that story is ready to be shared. Not by one institution or one collection, but by a community. Curators, students, artists, researchers and visitors, all drawing together.